All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to video 4, our final video on the muscular system. And we talked about muscle cells. We talked about energy for the muscles. We talked about how the signal gets sent from the nervous system to the muscles. And now let's kind of bring it all together, and we will finish up talking about the different types of muscles and their names, what you need and what they do, and finally how all the other systems work with the muscular system. So one of the things we talked about earlier was something called muscle tone. Now, muscle tone is not conscious. You don't think about it. And what happens is it's kind of like if you watch those car commercials, how there's whatever, a million actions every second or something that allows your car to stay on the road or whatever. That's pretty much what your body does. And it allows some filaments to contract while others are relaxed, which allows you to stand up straight and keep yourself from falling over. So that's basically what muscle tone is. Having nothing to do with the last two things we spoke about in the last video of isometric and isotonic contractions. Those are actual contractions that you will do or try to do. Muscle tone is unconscious. Okay, so now let's talk about the effect of exercise on muscles. We talked a little bit about how they contract. Now let's talk about what exercise does. Muscles come in the use it or lose it category. So if you don't use a muscle for a long time, or that muscle is inactive, it's going to, in essence, start to break down. So what will happen is if a person is paralyzed from the waist down, maybe they had a lower back injury or something, but they can still move their arms and they can still lift weights and do pull-ups and bench press and all this other stuff, you will notice that their upper body looks like everyone else's upper body, but their lower body muscles are very, 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 almost, they look like they're gone almost. Because if you can't use them, you lose them. And that's what happens in a lot of paralysis cases. The person that is totally paralyzed, they'll look almost like they have no muscles at all because they've just lost so much muscle tissue. Regular exercise is going to help increase some muscle strength and endurance, obviously. Things like aerobics, jogging, and biking. Now, what happens with aerobics, jogging, and biking, you'll get a little bit stronger, but you're going to build up endurance there. The only way to get true strength is to do a lot of isometric contractions, again, going against a serious weight or a serious resistance. So that's how you build your strength. But other than that, you can get your endurance by just constantly getting air, constantly getting blood to the cells, which bring nutrients and bring oxygen to the mitochondria, and that's what's going to allow for endurance to occur. The size of the muscle itself, as we talked about, jogging aerobics and such, will not give you giant muscles like a bodybuilder. They come from strength and weight training. So to increase your size, you need, once again, to do isometric exercises, which we talked about. And you also need to eat a fair amount of calories, and you need to eat a fair amount of protein. So lifting some weights is not going to turn you into a bodybuilder. And unfortunately, some of those bodybuilders do use anabolic steroids, which is kind of unfair. But if you yourself want to build some natural muscle, you're going to eat right, and you're going to do isometric exercises. As for the muscles themselves, we talked a little bit about tendons earlier, but the muscles are going to attach. They're going to attach in two places. They have to have what is known as an origin, and they have to have what is known as a insertion point. Now, again, I'll show you a picture in the next slide, but you got around 600 muscles or so, and they're all going to be attached in two places. And most muscles that are going to move something like your arm or your leg cross over a joint. Because if they don't cross over a joint, when you contract, you're not going to be able to move that particular bone. So let's look at the difference between the origin and the insertion point. And again, there's very few exceptions that have only one, that do not cross a joint, I'm sorry. And for example, your tongue, which would be a muscle that does not cross over a joint. So if you look here, the act of this particular person bending their arm, so what's happening right there is when you contract that muscle, known as your bicep muscle, It's going to bring your lower arm up. Well, that happens because if you see, the muscle is attached to the what's known as immovable bone or the origin, and then crosses to the now movable bone, and that's known as the insertion. Once again, there's your tendon thin crossing over the joint, which we talked about. Now, there will be also a set of muscles back here. Let's just say these are called your triceps. So there's the tendon there. There's your tricep muscle, which is on the back of your arm. And there's the tendon that wraps around to, again, your lower arm bones, in that case, your ulna. And when you contract this, if you contract your tricep, that's going to straighten your arm. So your biceps and your triceps do opposite things, but in both scenarios, they have to cross a joint, because if they don't cross a joint, you're not going to move your arm. And in the case of your hamstrings and your quads and your legs, same thing, crossing over your knee joint. Now for the muscles of the body. Good news is you're not going to need to know them all. I like you to know 10. I like 5 from the front and 5 from the back. If you know those 5 major muscle groups in the front and the 5 major ones in the back, I'm very, very, very happy. So let's start with the deltoid, and that's going to be in essence your shoulder muscles, and that's going to allow you to raise your arm. Not bend it, raise it. So if you want to raise your hand above your head, you contract your deltoids. Now you got a bicep scenario over here. So your biceps are the ones that are in the front of your arm. That's going to allow you to bend your arm. So that's 2 muscles with 2 functions. And basically, we're going to keep it simple, and these are going to be your abs. So all these in this area are your abs. And they're going to allow you to do things like a sit-up. No abs means no sit-ups. Then you, again, have a lot. And they all have their own name, but all the muscles of your leg together we're going to call your quads or your quadriceps. Now what these are going to allow you to do is actually to straighten your legs. And in the front there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfect. Those are our 5 major muscle groups. Now if we flip over to the back, actually the next ones are going to be a chart. Again, you're not going to have to memorize this chart, but I wanted to show you that there are a lot of muscles, lots and lots and lots of them, and they all have to have an origin, and they all have to have an insertion, and they're all going to do something. So again, don't get hung up in memorizing those. It's available if you want to ever see it. Now in the back of your body, once again, we'll do 5 muscle groups. And let's talk about your traps, so your trapezius muscles. That's kind of those ones that are on your neck that maybe you get when you get a back massage. And of course, that's going to be the shrug muscles, or the, as I always like to say each year, the I don't know muscles. Like when people ask you stuff and you go, I don't know. That's with the help of your traps. Then let's see, let's go to your triceps over here. Your triceps are found in the back of your arm. And that's not going to allow you to bend your arm, but it's going to allow you to straighten your arm. And if you want to build strength on those, you will do something like a dip, or you will do a tricep pull down if you're into doing things at the gym. All of these muscles in your back, we're going to collectively call your lats or your latissimus dorsi. And that's going to allow you to row or allow you to pull something towards you. Actually, I missed one in the front. We have to go back to that. I forgot the pectoral muscle, which I can't believe. Over here, your gluteus maximus, or your, I guess, butt, if you will. That's going to do a lot of things having to do with kind of raising and lowering your entire leg. And again, that might hurt after a run, maybe. Possibly. Especially if you haven't ran in a while. And your, you hear a lot about this on the major athletes, is your hamstring group. And this is what is going to allow you to bend your leg. So what happens, a lot of athletes that are running very, very quickly, and maybe they slow down very quick, maybe running the first base or going in the end zone or something, or if you're playing soccer, running quick and stopping quick, whatever, basketball, same thing, you may injure your hamstring. Now, because they are in charge of bending your leg, it's a big deal when you hurt them. So I want to go back real quick to the front. I cannot believe I forgot your pectoral muscles. So here, your, in essence, chest muscles or your pectoral muscles, you may call them pecs or pectoralis major, they are going to be to push something from you. So if you are doing bench pressing or you are doing push-ups, that's where you will use your pectoral muscles. So again, I'm sorry I skipped over those. Okay, and once again, going to the back, we have lots of different muscles. Each has an origin, each has an insertion, and each has a job. You will not, of course, need to memorize any of that. And finally, as I always like to do, how do the other systems all come into play, and how does all of this work together? And the endocrine system, just like in the skeletal system, is going to give you some growth hormones, which are going to help to get your muscles to grow and to get larger and more massive. And as boys go through puberty, they see a large change in their muscle structure. Your lymphatic system, just as always, helps you protect against disease, or tries to at least. Your digestive system is what's going to give you all the nutrients that you need. That's going to give you that very important glucose that we talked about. So you eat that. And also your liver will help in metabolizing that lactic acid that you may have built up when you overexerted yourself. The urinary system is going to get rid of any nitrogen-containing waste in the form of urea in your urine. Your nervous system is going to tell you if something hurts. It's also going to initiate any activities that you need to do. So again, it does both. We will talk more about that in the nervous system. And your respiratory system is going to give your muscles that much needed oxygen. And again, as important as getting in oxygen, you got to get rid of that CO2. And if we remember the formula for cell respiration, oxygen in, CO2 out. And finally, the last slide for this. What does your skin do? As always, helps protect your muscles and keeps the inside in and the outside out, helps keep it from drying out. The skeletal system is going to give your bones a place to actually attach to, because your muscular system would be useless without the help of your skeletal system. And finally, you're not getting any oxygen, you're not getting any nutrients, you're not getting rid of any wastes unless you have the cardiovascular system or the circulatory system moving the blood, which is again bringing oxygen and nutrients and taking away any waste products. So with that, we have finished up the muscular system, and you have 4 videos and you have 4 days worth of questions. I will also have a Google Slides internet project based on the muscular system. So there, and be also on the lookout for a bunch of homework questions that kind of bring everything together. So with that, I will see you all very soon.